First of all, take us through the process here. He's put out a list. He said there's a 10% proposed tariff on $200 billion in additional imports. What's the notice and comment period? When could they actually impose tariffs?
Well, there'll be a notice and comment period over the next 2 months, and the tariffs could go into effect as early as September.
And what is the likely effect? I mean, you have spent a career, really, and you've been a deputy special trade representative, general counsel. Has it ever happened before? Have we ever used Section 301 on this amount of goods?
Well, this is, no, we're in new terrain, and Ambassador Lighthizer is following through on President Trump's commitment to follow through on tariffs. And President Trump said if China retaliated against the initial tranche of tariffs, that he would up the game, and that's what he's doing with this notice released last night.
Well, and I noted that this is a 10% tariff, not a 25% tariff. This is a 10% tariff. Does that give them some headroom, as it were, so that if China does come back and retaliate further, as they've said they will do, they could simply up the tariff on the $200 billion they're talking about?
Yes, I think that's right. The list is about 6,000 products or more. So I think since the number of products to be added is getting smaller, since so many are now covered, I think the headroom is provided by increasing the tariffs from 10 to a higher number, perhaps 25%, if further retaliation is necessary.
So another thing that I noted that's different is there's a lot of consumer goods in this one, which is unlike what we've had before. At what point is this going to start hitting consumers? I'm going to put up a chart, actually, about what happened with washing machines when we imposed those tariffs back in January.
Yes, at some point, producers are going to pass these costs on to consumers. I think up to this point, there's been some negotiation between different parts of the manufacturing stream, but at some point, consumers are going to feel it, and I think it's just a matter of time before that happens. John, your job when you were at the trade representative's offices was to negotiate. Are there any negotiations going on right now? And if not, how are we going to get back to the table with the Chinese? Well, there don't appear to be active negotiations underway. I think the administration's strategy is to do certain things, namely tariffs, to create leverage so that when they do sit down, the U.S. is negotiating from a position of strength. Do we have any reason to believe that's working? We don't yet, but I think it's also worth considering that perhaps the administration's goal isn't necessarily to use tariffs as leverage in a negotiation, but simply to protect the U.S. market and to achieve a disentangling of the U.S. and Chinese economy. That theory would be consistent with some of the statements the president has said in the campaign and in his presidency.